All right, before we get started, I just want to introduce myself one more time. I'm Sam Riddick, percussion teacher at YPass Youth Performing Arts School, and happy to see all of you all here today. This is such a great opportunity to learn and see some things that maybe other people are doing that you haven't thought about, or just a few hints or tricks that are going to help you. And before I kind of want to get into Delacluse itself, because we could sit here and talk about this one etude for a week, and talk about the whole book for months. Um, just so everyone knows, when you go audition, I'm not sure if this is the first time everyone here is auditioning for either all county or all state, or if it's their second, third, or fourth time. But something I love to tell my kids and everyone auditions, like, people behind that screen, because this is a blind audition, they want you to succeed. They want you to do great. The people who are behind that screen don't want you to fail. Have fun when you go audition. This is a learning experience, and enjoy it. This is such a great opportunity for anyone, and I promise everyone back behind that screen wants you to do well. No one is rooting for you to fail. I promise. So, what I would like to do today is, if people want to play, great. I'd love to hear you play, give you some tips or tricks, and I have a recording that I'll play for you just a little bit, and we'll talk a little bit about the etude, some things to look out for, and if everyone has the music with them, that would be great to have. I can give you just talk about measure numbers, specific things to write in your part, which would be really helpful. So if you have that, I would highly recommend it. Okay. Anything there? Perf. All right. So hopefully everyone's listened to a little bit of the piece. Everyone's had the music for a little while. And I think I have one person's link. I'm not sure if some people may have wanted to send recording, maybe didn't, or some people may want to play live. That would be great too. But I have the PDF here. I'm going to pull it up and share my screen here. Sorry, so this is just a little bracket for my kids. I did this just this was our little etude. So one thing we do at my school is we have these little etudes every 6 weeks, and that was our kind of first etude. So I had them work on. So hopefully you heard a little bit in the recording, a little bit of what I did, and I have some writings in here. This is my copy here, and so a lot of things. If you haven't worked out of the Delacluse book before. That's totally understandable. It's not really common high school thing, but so common in college, right? If you ever want to do music in college, you'll do something out of the Delacluse book. I promise. So a little bit about this A2 3 is it's kind of similar to the there's this is a 12 etude book, right? There's 12 etudes, and this is a pretty early on. It's very similar to one and two. But this one I like a lot because what builds intensity in this etude is rhythmic clarity. A lot of the times, this is, it's hard to have dynamics jump out of a page when you play snare drum. So it's really what you do with it. And what's really important here is just the rhythmic intensity and clarity you have when you play this. One of the things I do as an adjudicator, when I'm, seeing a snare drum player or I'm judging, is I have a metronome out, and as soon as you start, I'm tapping that metronome just to see if it's close, right? So if you see it's 92 on the page, Well, how do you get 92 in your head? Well, we have this wonderful thing called GSA in the state of Kentucky. I did GSA, and one of the themes of that year was Africa, the Toto song. And one of the things I love and I think so fondly of is that song. And I know that that song is 92 beats per minute. So every time I play this for at least two, dun, 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 right? I'm just singing it in my head, and as soon as I got that, I'm starting, right? This happens all the time. This actually happened last week with one of my kids. We're in marching band. He counts off. It is way too fast, and it's just getting that little relative thing in your mind that goes, "This is the tempo. This is how it needs to go for the entire piece. How am I going to keep this in my head?" Right? So it's practicing with the songs. It's practicing with a metronome. Right? These are all really important things when it comes to this piece. Um, Snare drum is such a rhythmic, that's all it is, right? You are hitting the drum. It has to be rhythmically precise the entire way, and that is what Delacluse is about. This is so new to a lot of high school students, and it's really important that these really niche rhythms, these complex ideas, are really fit soundly together. So one of the things I'd like to just point out about this etude itself is that yes, there's not much dynamic contrast, but it's what you do with it is what's going to make you stand out, right? It's not, exactly. I played exactly what's on the page, and it was perfect, right? I love that. But if you can show me that you have thoughts of musicality, if you can take this to a whole nother level, right? We see what's on the page, we understand it. But if you can take it just a little bit notch above, I promise that that'll help you so much, not only in your audition, college auditions, placement auditions. It's something that everyone wants to hear. Everyone wants to have that just sound, I want to hear someone who's just going to blow me away within the first four measures. And that really is what I like to hear. So let's take a look at just a little bit of this specific etude here. One of the things I'd like to, oh, am I? Oh, gotcha. So one of the things I like to really gripe on, especially with my kids, it happens all the time. Uh, Especially in the first measure, there's no accents on the flams. Every time I hear this etude, cha 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 cha, and I'm like, whoa, 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 where did we get that? Right? So note that all those that first measure, I just play right, 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 and put the left hand on the flam. So right, 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 right. That way, it's just even. It's precise every time I do it. It's just the same thing every time. So one way to practice that: right, 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 right. These are things just to think about. Roles on Delacluse. A lot of times I have a lot of questions about how do I meter the roles, open or closed. This is something that a lot of us don't think about at this time. And also, a lot of times when I hear my kids play this, every single role is accented. And that's one of my biggest pet peeves is that when you start a role, I don't want to hear this punch to the start of the roll. I just want this even, consistent roll that if I'm looking at a sound wave, it's just one consistent roll. One of the things my master's professor at IU told me, and it changed my life, not only as, a snare drum player, but as a percussionist itself, is that entrances are important, but so are releases. It's like an interview. Your first impression is important, and how you leave the room is important. And that's exactly how it is with a roll. The start of your roll matters just as much as the end. So you don't want to hear an accented front. You don't want to hear an accented end if it's not. So that's something, especially in the second measure. Cha 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 cha, ja, right? It's just this complete stagnant, just roll, really loose. A lot of the times I'll hear someone push just way too much in the drum. Just make sure all's loose in your hands, wrist, just that sort of evenness of a roll. And notice the dynamics forte, right? And then we have this piano, subito piano on this fourth bar. Okay, so again, you want to stand out. You're loud. You're loud for the first three bars. That fourth bar, Notice where it is on the fourth bar too, right? It's not on the downbeat. This is such Delacluse. He's gonna trick you. You have to make sure that you are right with them. If you see that piano and where it is on that measure, make sure it is either if it's on the downbeat, then it's on the downbeat. If it's not, then make that mental note that says, oh, we're not we're, that downbeat is still forte. Okay, that's a really big thing. Accents on Delacluse, like we talked about, really important that we hear this little niche of a difference of just where we have this little cha 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 cha, right? We have this little difference of sound here on this beat too. Um, we have this dynamic crescendo right here. I get a lot of questions about metering rolls, and I have this little roll speed recommendation that I send to my kids. This is not mine, but I have found that this has done wonders for me as performing this as well as my kids. So I'm happy to send this to Dr. Geiger and have it send out, or I could send it out myself. So I'll send this out. It's a great resource to have. This isn't something that I'm like, it has to be this way. That's not what percussion is. It's totally up for interpretation, but it has really helped me just to have a mental note of this is what I'm doing. And that's really important when you do these kinds of things. Write down what you're doing. Keep a pencil when you're practicing and write, I'm doing this metered roll. I'm doing this sticking. That way you memorize that and you just know that every time I go and practice this, this is what I'm doing. Okay. That I really gripe on that, especially with my kids. So let's look a little bit more into the etude here. Again, we have some tricky rhythms here, and then there's another sheet that I have that takes these measures that are really tricky and breaks them down into like a skeleton kind of rhythm. I think everyone might know what I'm talking about here is when we're taking these rhythms and breaking them down to the easiest thing and then going deeper into it until it's the rhythm that's written on the page. Again, I can send that to Dr. Geiger and he can forward that to everyone. So again, right? We talked about dynamics. It's big. It's really big that this is just a humongous shift in noise and change and presence in the room. One thing I talk about, and I do this to myself when I take auditions, I say this in my head, I let the air just breathe. I let the room kind of just consume quietness and then start. So just make sure that we're comfortable, we know the tempo, and we start, and we kind of have this understanding. Um, Rest in Delacluse. So important that we do not lose time. One of the biggest things that I hear, especially in this etude, is that when you get to this third line and we have this shift in dynamics quickly, that we lose a lot of time. Okay. One of the things I like to do, especially with this section, is the third line down. Just turn on the metronome and don't play the rolls. Bop, 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 blop, blop, bop, bop, blop, ba da da. Now, if you can do that over and over again, just add one beat of the roll, right? So if I'm starting the first and with the right hand, I'm going zh, chop, chop, zh, chop, 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 ba da da, right? If I can just keep going a little bit more each time, getting a little bit more comfortable, and then I can play that, perfect, right? If I can just do that over and over again. And that right we keep going here. We got that. This right here, probably the trickiest rhythm. I would say that most of kids and students have a problem with. Um, and this is one that I have a breakdown for in another PDF, and I will share that with everyone. And let's see if I can pull that up actually real fast. Yeah, there it is. Right, so we take it from the easiest form until the final form. So bop 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 bop. Yep, ba da da da. So da 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 ja. One triple A and bum ba da dum bum. Right, and then we had the flam at the end. Okay, so again, this is something I can send to you all along with the roll speed recommendation stuff right there. Um, right here, starting right here, this would have been the one, two, three, four, five, six, fifth line down, and the third bar right here. It won't let me highlight it, but hopefully you can see my cursor. This starting right here, one of the biggest danger spots I like to say for my kids. Either A, you want to chill and you want to go, right? Because we're getting quicker with rhythms, or rhythms are looking scarier on page, or we slow down way too much. So this is really important. Take away the accents when you first start to look at this. Don't worry about them when you first start. Just worry about getting the rhythms. If we're triple it, 1 E and a 2 E and a 1 2 3 4 5, 1 2 3 4 5, triple it, 1, right? If you can just get that completely solid with a metronome, now you can start looking at little accents. But take it slow. Take it just the triplet bar. Cha 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 cha, right? And we're feeling that, and then we go to the 16th notes. Check it, check it, check it, check it, check it, check it, check it. Okay, so again, one of the great things about snare drum, don't have to practice behind a snare drum. You practice at home without a practice pad, on your leg, whatever you can do. One of my biggest happinesses about playing snare drum is that I do a lot on my voice. And my undergrad teacher really harped on doing that. Actually, not my percussion teacher, it was my band director in my undergrad. It was so big on, if you can do it on your voice, you can do it on your instrument. And that was the thing I really learned from him, and then I really appreciate. So again, we have that, right? Okay, this right here, I get a lot of questions about the flam roll. Should it be too open? Should it be too closed? This is something that I just teach. Play a flam, and then that right hand is the roll. That's how I play it. That's how I think about it. It's just a flam instead of just a downbeat. That is a roll. In my recording, it's a little bit crushed, and it's hard to hear, but make sure there's a little audible right before the roll begins. Also, the dynamic difference between fortissimo and forte. That's humongous, okay? Also note, if you're looking at the loudest part of the entire piece, where is it? It's right on that roll, okay? Stay relaxed when you play the roll. This should be just open, loud, nothing too popping out, but then right after, there should be a little bit of a, coming down off that fortissimo roll. And then subito piano right after. And then we get into a little retardando section. It's music. It's up for interpretation. I don't slow down that much. Hence that it's only two. I believe it's 2 bars. Yes, only 2-bar retardando. It also starts at the later half of the second measure. So I personally don't slow down too much. So I don't think I would. If I'm and then right back into the original tempo, right? I'm thinking, I'm singing Toto. Okay, I know it's strange. I know that's a different era, but that's my favorite thing to sing along with Delacluse 3. There's my professor had a song for every Delacluse, and it was wonderful. And he made me sing them, and there's a long story behind that. That was a really long lesson for me. We go right back into the tempo. We have this kind of recap of our A section, right? Kind of what we started with. First measure, second measure is the same. Actually, it's a little different. But again, we have this recap. Now, again, another really tricky spot for kids right here. The rhythms are getting a little bit quicker. The accents are popping off of the page. Take away the accents when you first practice. Take it down to the easiest thing you could do. 1 measure at a time at a medium dynamic. It does, I'm not worried about that when you first start out. If you just want to practice this, get this right. And if you can get it right 5 times, move on to the next measure. Okay, I've always practiced that way. It's really helped me. It's really helped a lot of kids. And after that, start thinking about the accent. Start thinking about your dynamic. Start thinking about where you are on the drum. One of the biggest things about Delacluse, you have to use the entire drum to your expense. You have to have this dynamic control of where you play. You have to understand that your louds are going to be a little bit more into the drum. It's going to be more onto the drum head. As when you get a little bit quieter, you can move a little bit more towards the edge. I think about the logo, where the logo is on the drum. That should be your softest dynamic or a little out. And then your loudest dynamic should be a little bit, not dead center, but a little bit off center in the front. So if I'm thinking of a circle, it's like right above the circle, where I like to think. Okay, so again, another really tricky spot here. A really fast section that people really freak out on here is the pseudo piano. Again, relaxed hands, stay relaxed through the entire etude. I promise it'll help you so much. And then the last thing I'll go into depth on, this last second to last measure. I hear people play this and they play so great the entire way. They throw this little pseudo piano and they either play it way too fast or way too slow, or they rush it and or don't put it in the right spot. If we're coming off this roll and we're here, triplet, da, right? If we got to be thinking six tuplets the entire way. Da 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 da. Okay, I hear ja ja ba da da. It's too fast. So make sure with the metronome, and also the last measure. It's forzando. It's not too loud. Don't rim shot it. I remember one of the times we did placement auditions, and I was going right before, and we had this etude, and they rim shotted the last note, and it was that lost so many points. So think about that, right? Think about this is totally different than marching band versus a Mitchell Peters etude and a Delacluse book, right? Completely different, right? Stylistically, how you think about approaching it, the use of the drum, the type of sticks you use. If anyone has questions about sticks, I'm happy to answer them. Vic Firth SD1s, great pair of sticks. Would I use a pair of marching sticks for this? Probably not. So again, something to think about. Right now, let's see. I think I have one recording of someone playing, and let me pull that up real fast. Very nice. Yeah, absolutely. Very, very nice. Jonathan, where are we here? Sorry. Hi, Jonathan. How are you? I would love to ask, like, where you go to school or
Yeah,
how.
here we can unmute. Yeah, here,
Is that
unmute.
possible?
Yeah, he has to agree to it, I think.
Hello.
Jonathan, how are you?
Good. Thanks for asking.
Fantastic playing here. Hey, what school do you go to, and what grade are you in? I'm interested.
So I go to North Woodham High
Okay,
School, and I'm a freshman currently.
freshman. To be honest, there's no way. Dr. Geiger might help me, but no way. If I was a freshman at one point, there's no way I'm pulling that off. So some really really nice playing. I will say, really really great job.
Thank you.
I loved your opening dynamic contrast from forte to that pseudo piano in that fourth bar. It's wonderful, Really wonderful. I didn't hear any unwanted accents that I was really like, whoa, that's too crazy. I really liked your use of where you played on the drum, and I can tell that that was happening even not looking at it. Right? I could really hear that you were going for that. Your accents on that last, going into the second line to from the first line, fantastic. Really, really, really good stuff. One of the things, and I think we'll work backwards a little bit. This bar right here, big it up, yeah. um, I think you tried. Did you double it? Left, right, right, left. So I don't mind that. That is absolutely one way to do it. I would like to hear just the intense clarity of that subito piano and that rhythmic clarity. Sometimes if I double things, I'll lose that second note. Because that first one is going to be loud and I can hear it, but that second one sometimes has trouble being, brought out, because we're just going off of we're just dropping it and trying to get a second bounce out of it. So that might be something to work on, right? If just going and go slow, try and see if you can really get that subito piano, and really see if you can just get that dynamic contrast. But again, if you can't and you double it and it sounds great, great. I applaud you. If you do that. The last note, I would have wished that that was just a little bit more tighter in a way. Right, we're thinking of Delacluse style roughs and rolls. So a little bit more of a tighter rough, I would say, on that last. It just seemed too open for me. And it didn't seem like it was the last note either. I would have liked to just cha 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 cha, ja, right. This just really ramp up into a last note. I the grace notes for me is just like a little crescendo. I'm just crescendoing into that last note really quickly. And another thing I like to do is, right, we have ja ja, and then this last triplet form in the second to last measure is the quietest thing I do in the entire note, in the entire piece. Right? It's a really good thing to do. Just have that dynamic contrast. Another thing was, I think it was around this point. I, Sometimes just notes get ghosted, and that's really hard. And it's really important to make sure that every single note in the etude has its place. Every note that is on this page has its place in what you play, right? I should be able to hear every single note in the entire piece. There shouldn't be anything that's too tight, too just unwanted, or anything that was just too crazy off the page, or I just couldn't hear it at all. Sometimes there'll be I didn't hear it in your recording, but there were just some times where I'm like, maybe we just ghosted one note, which happens, right? And it happens in auditions, but that's something to definitely strive for. And I said this in the beginning, at talking about working with a metronome. This third line right here, really, I really harp on my kids, just to, like, this has to be the most in time, feeling of ground, feeling that this is here. I'm metrically in time. I just played the first line in time, and now I'm playing the second line, and now I have a lot of rest, right? Because we look at these first two lines, no rest. All of a sudden, 2, 3, 4 bars of rest, that are fitted in here. So make sure that you are feeling these rest just as you're feeling rhythm. Okay. Does that make sense? Hopefully that answers
Yeah.
some questions. Okay. Do you have any questions or anything that you're like, I'm not sure if this was something to do or anything? I'm happy to answer.
So, I have two questions.
Yeah.
So, when you're going into the second to last line,
Hmm.
that quintuplet, should the accent be louder than the flam after it?
Are you talking about this right here?
Yeah.
So are you asking, should this be louder than this?
Yeah.
I would say, I wouldn't say it would be louder. I think we're all just moving into the same direction of that forte. I wouldn't say that, because I think we're landing on the downbeat, because I want to feel the loud on the downbeat. I don't want to feel the loud right before we get there. I think that would mess with my ear a little bit as a performer and an adjudicator. So I would say that the downbeat of that second measure should be the louder thing. It shouldn't be the note right before. Does that answer your question? Does that?
Yeah, thank
Okay.
you. And then should I do a for the last note,
Mhm.
sforzando?
Mhm.
Should I stroke it out or should I do a drag and then tap, drag, tap, and then
I fight with this all the time. I've always been a firm believer of just singling. So what I do personally is left, right. To me, that works just really well. It feels like I can also get it really tight. I can get it really open. For some reason, I just like to hear those three. I like to hear even if it's really closed. Sometimes if I drag and then play with another, another. So if I'm dragging with the right and then adding a single beat, there's more room for air if I do that. I'd like to hear just an even instead of just right. If I'm hearing two, I have more just rhythmic clarity if I just single it. To me, I think it's just a lot easier for me. But if you could get it really, sounding with a two and one with the left and then a right, great. Then go for it. If it works for you, it works for you. But I would prefer it be singled on my end. So that might be something to try.
cool. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, great playing. For real, that's incredible. Who else? Does anyone want to perform live? I'm interested. If and if it's a practice pad, that's completely okay. Let's see. We have some people. Okay.
I can give it a shot, but I don't know how good the audio will sound
So
since I don't.
if you make sure you have your original sound for musicians on.
I just turned it on.
Okay, perfect. Then we should be good.
I'm also gonna be playing on a drum set snare, so
That's completely okay.
what are your thoughts on like putting like a phone or a wallet on the snare to like kind of
Oh, wonderful question. I'd love. We'll talk about that. I want you to play. We'll talk about it.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Very nice. Very nice. Hey, some great stuff. I might ask you to play something real fast. But so just stay right there. Some really great stuff. Can we just try really quick the second line right here? But what I want you to focus on, this last measure right here, try not to rush into that next line. If we're and what something you can do, put quarter notes on the bass drum. Yep. Play. Don't rush, just keep it there. Good. Already, that felt so much better. It felt more just secure. Also, what I like to think about, especially in Delclues, I try to one hand a lot of things because it's just a lot more cleaner and I have more ability that I can focus on just my right hand playing that last line. So right here on the second line, last measure, I do right, left, 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 left. That way, I'm just super clear that this is just I'm crescendoing and I can control it well with one hand, and it just sounds more clear and more just an even dynamic going up. And it, also, I'm not hitting two different spots on the snare. So can you just try it one more time and keep that bass drum going, and then that last measure, right, left, 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 left.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, already. I hopefully you can hear it. It just sounds much better.
Yeah.
Something you could do to practice. If you have a drum set, beat 1 on a bass drum, beat 2 on a hi-hat with a metronome going. There's some great books that I do that all the time with my kids, but something really good to practice with. Let's talk really quickly about phones, wallets on snare drum. I totally get it. I see kids do it all the time. If they don't have, a felt rag, I get it. Got to do what you got to do. It is one of my biggest pet peeves sometimes, though. And I teach a techniques class to kids who don't know it, and they're like, "Why don't I just put my wallet on it?" And it makes me go super crazy. I'm like, "No, never do that." What I like to do, Walmart has black towels for $2. I just buy one and I fold it up really neatly and I put it on the rim closer to me. It works great. So that's what I recommend. Some really good things. Just some things to think about. Think about the consistency of flams and roughs. Right now, it's your flams don't all sound the same. So think about this is a I call it a Delcluse flam or a Delcluse rough. Find what that kind of means. Listen to a lot of recordings, see if they're really open, see if they're really closed. Find yours and then stick with it. Okay, does that kind of make a little more sense?
Yeah.
What school do you go to?
I go to Ryle High School.
Fantastic. And what year are you?
I am a senior.
Fantastic. Yeah. So, again, some really good playing, and obviously you can play it down, which is fantastic already. So, again, just some things to think about. Flams, rolls, making sure rolls are even. Are you right-handed?
Yeah.
I can tell. Try, do your best if you're, try to tell me. I always tell my kids who are right-handed, try to tell me you're left-handed. Okay, that makes you start to think that, hey, I really need to play, especially my rolls, that I need to put a little more emphasis on my left hand. So that's something to think about. Great. Do you have any other questions for me? I know I could spend hours on this, but any questions for me?
On the second to last line where with the I think it's like the triplet followed by the fivelet, whatever, the quintuplet.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on like how I played the accents, like any do you have like any other suggestions on how I could
Are you
stick
asking about
those?
sticking?
Yeah.
The 5-tuplet for me, either I alternate it completely, or another way I found is right, left, right, right, left. And what that does, it places all the accents on the left hand. Okay,
Yeah, that's
something to
kinda
think about.
That's kind of what I was doing.
Yeah.
Like,
So again, everyone's different. Everyone's gonna have their own little thing. If that works for you, great. Singling works for me. That's just my gig. But if right, bum bum bum, that way I'm just hearing the accents completely on the left hand. Great, works. So
We're out of time. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm going to
yeah,
close the rooms. It should give us about a minute if there are any lasting comments, but I'm going to close them now. Thank you so much. And sorry, Rylan, we didn't get a chance to hear you play today, but I hope you got some good comments from everybody else. And we'll be back in the main room.
and if anyone wants to reach out, I'm happy to have if you want a lesson or anything, please feel free to reach out. I'll put my email down in the chat, and Dr. Geiger has access to my email. He's also someone who you can learn so much for if you're looking for great college to go to. He'd be the guy to talk to, and so thank you all so much. Hopefully you all got a lot out of this, and if you have any last questions, feel free to email me again. Really great playing, really, really.